everybody. My name is Markus Eriksson, and today I'm a researcher at RISE, but I have a very long industrial background. 15 years ago, I started at Scania, and I was working at Scania here in Södertälje for 10 years. And during that period of time, I was investigating the question, how do you make money on connected data from trucks? And I did that for 10 years, which meant that I was traveling around internally in the Scania organization. I was visiting R&D, production, logistics, etc., etc. So I learned a lot about the automotive and the industrial logic. Then, of course, since the connected data has a lot of value for the customer, the haulier, I was also visiting them. And then since the haulier also has a customer, which is the whole logistics system, I explore that. So what I'm trying to say here is that during these 10 years, I built up a lot of knowledge around the logistics system. But then I moved over into the manufacturing industry working at Sandvik Coromant. And during these years, thought started to grow in my head around this system that we are discussing here today regarding circularity. And that was described like this, that what will 3D printing do to our industrial system? How will 3D printing influence our way of doing business? And the picture that you see here behind me is an illustration of 5 different scenarios that we're now working with in order to answer this question. So on the left side, you see scenario 1, which is our traditional linear value chain that has been working with for, let's say, 200 years. But then with 3D printing, you can position it at different locations in our industrial system. For example, in scenario 2, we position it in a factory. Or in 3, we move it closer to the customer, for example, to a central distribution center. Or in scenario 5, where we have positioned it very close to the customer. And then, of course, there are benefits and drawbacks with these different positions. So what I have been doing together with Magnus Widfeldt and Volvo Cars, Alfa Laval, and Volvo Trucks, in a project that was financed within Production 2030. Then we have investigated which 3D components should be 3D printed. And then we have extended the selection criteria for this by adding on business criteria, but then also sustainability criteria. And then we have looked into this question of where should you position the product, production, and then being able to quantify the values in terms of cost and then time. And when we say time, we're mostly talking about lead time, but then also sustainability aspects. And then we have created a method around that we now are working with to fill in this answer that was the reason why I started at RISE. I will talk about this in a couple of minutes if you want to know more in the conference room Blue Box. Thank you.